Sorry, just wondering, can I speak on A1W now and
yes.
A1AAG? Is that okay?
Yes, it's all included in the omnibus.
Okay, so I'll just start with A1W. I just believe that the amendment A1W is necessary as it's not acceptable to introduce legislation to apply penalties with no independent appeal mechanism other than the courts. It is not okay to make canals less user-friendly by discriminating against tourism development on our canals by introducing a complete different set of rules, charges, regulations and fines that are not in place on the adjoining waterways. How will this encourage tourism growth? Inland Waterways Association of Ireland called for a dedicated canal bill with proper pre-legislation consultation with canal users, local canal communities, elected local authority representatives and local authority management and the tourism sectors. They believe that it's a negative and imbalanced approach to introduce legislation that penalises 99% of waterways communities to address the problematic area of 1% due to unlicensed boats harbour hogging. These matters can be legislated for without effectively penalising the other less populated areas. The proposed legislation should promote the development of the tourism potential of the canals and support tourism initiatives on the canals, such as the IWAI Green and Silver Circle trip through Dublin via both canals. Equally provide for the regulators and the users' requirements. In the absence of alternative private marinas on the canals, provide for boaters moving through these linear waterways in safe areas, not isolated known problematic areas, and without having to risk €150 per day fines after 5 days. They should allow for the introduction of bylaws that put user requirements, tourism development and local communities at the centre of the regulations in a manner that allows adequate consultation. They should ensure that the enforcement of penalties regime governed by these bylaws include a suitable independent appeals mechanism. They should protect and maintain navigation, heritage and usage for future generations. The IWAI advised that while it would be welcome and support proper regulations, the proposed Heritage Bill does not put user requirements, local communities or tourism at the centre of the regulations. Rather, it is a heavy-handed approach that will result in detrimental reduction of boat traffic on the canals. The proposed Heritage Bill gives Waterways Ireland the authority to appoint officers to carry out stop and search and seizure activities on boats and personal property on the Grand Canal, Royal Canal and River Barrow. In the Republic of Ireland, search and seizure acts are limited to a number of specially trained and professional groups such as Gardaí, health and safety inspectors and custom officers. The boats affected by this new act include residential barges, hire boats and barges, restaurant barges, motor cruisers and fishing boats. Boats will opt to move to the other Irish waterways managed by the same regulator, Waterways Ireland, where the regulations and facilities are more user-friendly and where there are no oppressive fines and penalties. The powers proposed within the new Act will affect those on the waterways of Carlow, Dublin, Kildare, Kilkenny, Laois, Longford, Meath, Offaly and Westmeath elsewhere. And if it's okay, I'd like to talk about the amendment of A1AAG. Is that okay?
Yes, I think so. A1.
So I just wanted to say it's not acceptable that persons other, this is on 1AAG, it's not acceptable that persons other that on Garda Síochána, a customs officer or health and safety officer have the right to stop and search boaters, walkers and cyclists on Waterways Ireland property, such as the canal towpaths, greenways or blueways. Section 7C2 would give the right to stop and search to any authorised officer. Local authority elected representatives have already stated that. It is unacceptable that a body with no corporate governance structure or board will be empowered to bring in any bylaws they want with only 21 days consultation. This is insufficient time to allow the local authority to consider any proposed bylaws. It is not appropriate to legislate for the introduction of fines and regulations that are overly penal and will not encourage use of the canals and which are not in place on the other Irish inland waterways under the management of Waterways Ireland. No other similar body has these sorts of powers. Keelcha Irish Parks and Wildlife Service, the Office of Public Works, their officers don't have these powers. Why should Waterways Ireland use the Gardaí instead, just like everyone else does? Waterways Ireland should be required to make hard copies of bylaws available to Gardaí so that they can make this available to people arrested or charged under those bylaws. It's not acceptable that Waterways Ireland have the right to impose fixed payment notices without providing a suitable appeals process. The suggested appeal process entails a court appearance, and this may prove too costly for some people. It should be possible for the appeal to be made by simple email to any appeal section, as is the case with the parking or motor tax fines issued by some parking companies on behalf of local councils. An appeal email can be sent accompanied by scanned copies of any relevant documents, and the outcome of the appeal can be conveyed to the appellant within 28 days. For Míle Maith.
Sorry, on that last one there, it was partly my error, Senator Black. That actually is not in this grouping, but I didn't want to finish you. So
sorry about that.
I don't want to confuse the Minister. It's quite confusing. So when I call the Minister to... oh, yeah, sorry. I think...